Hiya folks, how you all doing? Will here back for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 73 from the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee, as the light heavyweights take centre stage here as Tennessee's own Ovince Saint Preux takes on Brazil's Glover Teixeira in our main event of the evening. Overall, the Fight Night card, I think the main card is fairly decent here. There is a lot of newcomers on the card here as well. Just a kind of rudimental Fight Night card, in all honesty. Looking forward to seeing some guys in there. Ray Borg, I think, is definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Johnson versus Dariush is a great co-main event, and I think Teixeira versus Saint Preux is a really good main event as well. So yeah, we're going to get started in this one. We're going to start down in the lightweight division with Anthony Christodoulou against Scott Holzman here. Now, if you ask me, this is a pretty big mismatch here. Christodoulou has no right whatsoever being in the UFC. Made his debut not too long ago against Mirbat Taisumov, come in short notice and looked horrendous. He did not look good anywhere at all. He looked a bit kind of flabby, no speed, no movement. I know Taisumov's good, but he had no right being in that octagon that night, and I don't see why. I can't see him changing too much to kind of improve himself on that fight here. Against Scott Holzman here, 7-0, 3 wins by TKO, 1 win by submission, and 3 by decision. Striking's okay, nothing really jumps out at you. Maybe hits a few nice inside leg kicks, but he really likes to try and push his opponents against the cage and get the clinch and take them down there. And once it goes to ground, he's a really good wrestler, and he can dominate the fight from down there. And he's always looking for submissions as well. I really do like Scott Holzman in this fight. I think if there's any fight that I would bet a lot of money on just to pick the win in this one, it'd be Scott Holzman. I don't see Christodoulou really shown too much to him, so I'm going to go Scott Holzman via submission in the third round. Bantamweight division, we've got Marlon Chito Vera against Roman Salazar. Chito Vera, he's one and known. He lost his first fight in the UFC, I should say. He was on Ultimate Fighter Latino America. Fought at UFC 188, I think it was, back in November. Not 88. 180. UFC 180 in the Velasquez, the Verdum Hunt card. And lost to Marco Beltran on there, which I thought he should have really won that fight. Beltran is not a great fighter. On the show, he had a really nice knockout of Enrique Briones up kick off his back, but had to leave the show because I think he had a skin condition. Didn't really show much in that first fight in the UFC. He's got some decent speed about him, so hopefully since that fight in November to now, he's been working at Jackson's MMA in Albuquerque. So hopefully he's progressed a little bit, and he'll show some new skills here. He's against Roman Salazar, who's coming off that, I think it was a no contest with Kid Yamamoto. I believe he was losing that fight before that. The fight before that, he came in against Mitch Gagnon and just got blasted out there. I like Chito Vera in this fight. I think I don't think I'll be putting any money in either of these guys. Don't get me wrong, but I do like Marlon Vera. I think he's got more chance of a finish as well, so I'm going to go decision victory for Marlon Vera. Light heavyweight division, we have Chris Dempsey against Jonathan Wilson. I don't see why. I know it's he's coming in here on short notice, but Chris Dempsey going back up to 205, I don't think it's a good thing. Showed that against De La Latifi in Dublin last year. You got hit with a short uppercut. Now, when Latifi hits you, so that's to say something. But he won his fight against Eddie Gordon back in April, which I thought he lost. It was very sloppy. Both guys didn't look good at all. So he's coming up from the middleweight division to the light heavyweight division here against Jonathan Wilson, who fights out of Millennia MMA. I think he's a 6-0 record with 5 knockouts and 1 decision. Wilson, his striking's not great. He's not very technical. He throws a lot of hooks. Has a nice leaping left hook, to be honest with you, but he has huge power in those fists, and I like him in this fight as a newcomer in the UFC against Dempsey. I don't think Dempsey's very good. He doesn't really jump out at me as being good at anything at all, really. So I'm going to go Jonathan Wilson by TKO in the first round. Bantamweight division with Frankie Saenz against Sirwan Kakai. Frankie Saenz is coming off, he came off a huge win against Uriah Alcantara. I think he was a 7-1 underdog in that fight against Alcantara. And he came out there, he was very aggressive, he was in the face of Alcantara, got Alcantara down, and basically just got the decision victory. There was a huge shock, that win. I've never seen anybody pick Frankie Saenz for that. He's predominantly a wrestler out of Arizona State, so he's going to look to try and get this to the ground here. Sirwan Kakai, this is his second fight. I think he fought only like 6 weeks ago in the Machida Romero card, beat Danny Martinez. He just had that little bit more speed, he had that better fight IQ, he took the fight to the ground. I think he took Martinez down 5 times out of the 6 attempts he tried. So that shows you he's got some a little bit of fight IQ there. When he was getting a little bit hustled on the feet, he took Martinez down, but he did hurt Martinez on the feet with some shots, some knees in there, some nice leg kicks as well. This is a tough fight for me. I think Kakai's maybe got enough to keep this on his feet, but I just don't like the fact he's coming back in here 6 weeks after that fight against Martinez. So I think I want Kakai to win. I think he's got a good chance of doing it here, but I think the smart pick is Frankie Saenz via decision. Flyweight division with Dustin Ortiz against Willie Gates. Dustin Ortiz, a guy I've been following for a long time, Tashi Palace, comes out of Rufus Sport, got a really good ground game. He's a good wrestler, get you down. He's very top heavy down there. He positions himself, he moves around quite well, and he moves positions very well. Coming off that loss against Joseph Benavidez, I think he's won a couple of fights via a very close split decision against Justin Scoggins and Ray Borg. I actually thought Ray Borg probably won that fight. Very close. His improvements on his feet, you can see that with every fight that's coming in here. I just think he's improving all the time, so I think this is a good fight for him here to kind of show off those skills against Willie Gates, who fought literally 4 weeks ago at the tough finale. 3 weeks ago I watched him. He was the very first fight of the night against Darryl Montague, and when they were both coming to the octagon, it's like Darryl Montague had no idea what he was going to do in this fight, and Willie Gates being confident. He's pretty heavy handed for that flyweight division, and he hit him with a nice shot and took him out. I think Dustin Ortiz is just better than him everywhere here, so I'm going to go Dustin Ortiz via decision. Women's bantamweight division, we have Sara McMann against Amanda Nunes. This is all about Amanda Nunes, if she can take Sara McMann out in the first round. Now, we've seen what Ronda Rousey did to Sara McMann, but Ronda Rousey, as we've seen, is a complete different animal to any other woman in the UFC. Amanda Nunes is going to come out hard like she did against Kat Zingano. She's a very powerful striker. This is your classic striker versus grappler matchup. McMahon's going to look to take this to the ground and get down there and put a part with shots and hopefully get a late finish. Initially, when this fight was made, I picked Amanda Nunes, but I think Sara McMahon's got enough about her in her arsenal to get through that first round, where Nunes is at her best and her most powerful. I like Sara McMahon. Can she get a finish? I think she can. But I think the smart play is a decision victory here for Sara McMahon. So I'm going to go Sara McMahon via decision. The main fight on the prelims, Uriah Hall against Oluwale Bamgbose. Bamgbose is coming in here on short notice, but this guy is a banger. 5-0, all wins via knockout. Not very technical, swings hard, but when he hits you, he fucking hits you. You stay down. As I've seen his fight, and when you go down there, he's unloading with left and rights. He's quite quick as well. But he's against Uriah Hall here. Now, I pick Uriah Hall every time, and most of the time he doesn't show up. I thought he could have taken out Rafael Natal. I still think Uriah Hall won that fight. I don't think Natal should have got that. But Uriah Hall, he just needs to push himself here, but he needs to be very careful here, because Bamgbose has got some big power. But we've seen this with like Ron Stallings coming in short notice. Hall pretty much lit him up, beat his ass. I think he needs to be aggressive here and take Bamgbose out. You can't have this guy going later into the fight and still swinging hard. I think Uriah Hall can take this guy out. I'm going to go TKO in the first round. Moving on to the main card, we start off in the flyweight division with Ray Borg and Geane Herrara. Geane Herrara, actually seen him, I think it was RFA 25 not long ago maybe, and he beat Josh Rave. Very fun first round. If you ever get a chance to go watch that fight, do so. There was a lot of really nice like striking in that one. It was very quick, very brutal. A lot of heavy punches were landed, and he got the TKO finish from the top position and from the mount, and just pounded Josh Rave out. Ray Borg, on the other hand, this guy is a whiz when the fight goes to the ground. I mean, he came into the UFC, lost to Dustin Ortiz, which was very controversial. I thought he won that fight, and then he's followed that up with 2 submission victories, one over Sean Howell and the other one over Chris Kalades, who was very, very tough in that fight, and he just kept looking for the submission and eventually got it. Don't see any different in this match. I see Borg getting this fight to the ground, and I see him submitting Herrara. I think Herrera's just it's a nice addition to the 125 division, but it's a couple of fights too early for him, especially against the guy against Ray Borg caliber. Ray Borg, first round submission for me. Middleweight division with Chris Camozzi against Tom Watson. This could be decent. Do I see a finish? No. It's nice to see Chris Camozzi back in the UFC. I do believe he is a UFC caliber fighter. Coming in there, fighting anybody, come in and fought Jacare on very short notice. And he should never ever in his lifetime be fighting Jacare Souza. But he went out in the regional scene before that fight, won a couple of fights, has a nice kickboxing in there. But he's against Tom Watson here, who is he's a guy who I've never taken to as a British European fighter. But this is a big fight for this guy. He's on the chopping block here. He loses this fight. I thoroughly believe he's out the UFC. He's lost 4 of his last 5 then, with a nice win over Sam Alvey, right enough. But losses to Rafael Natal, Nick Catone and Thales Leites, all by decision. I think Chris Camozzi has just got a little bit more technique about him. I think he's got a little bit more power about him. I think if it goes to the ground, he's got more than advantage down there. I like Chris Camozzi, and I like him by decision in this one as well. So Chris Camozzi via unanimous decision. Heavyweight division with Jared Rosholt against Timothy Johnson. I think this is... I'm not ruling out Timothy Johnson here because it is the heavyweight division. He showed some nice power against Shamil Abdurrahimov in his debut not too long ago. But Jared Rosholt is a really good wrestler, and he's got some big power down in there. He took out Josh Copeland the last time, and his only losses to Oleinik in the UFC, Alexei Oleinik, and I just think that Johnson's going to come steaming out, go for Rosholt, and Rosholt's going to take him down. He's going to pound him out. So for me, I think Jared Rosholt will win this fight. I think I'm going to go first round TKO, knocking Timothy Johnson out. Moving on to middleweight division, we have Derek Brunson against Sam Alvey. Now, Sam Alvey, what can you say? This guy is just really fun to watch fight, and he's finished his last 3 fights by knockout, and he's did it in the first round. I think he did once in Brazil against Mutante. He went down to Australia and knocked out Dylan Andrews, knocked out Daniel Kelly. So he's I mean, when he wins those fights, he gets on the microphone, and the guy's golden. He's really, really good. He called out Elias Theodoro last time out, and if he wins, he was to shave his hair and stuff like that. So the guy's fun here, but he's definitely got to step up from the 3 opponents that he had here against Derek Brunson, who since being in the UFC has been pretty entertaining. He's been a good fighter. He was supposed to fight Krzysztof Jotko back in May or early June, I believe, in Berlin, but pulled out there due to an injury. On a 2-fight win streak in the UFC with wins over Ed Herman via TKO and Lawrence Larkin via decision, with the only loss in the UFC coming to Yoel Romero, which is not a bad loss, and he was doing very, very well in that fight. He has the slight reach advantage in this one by a couple of inches, I believe. I just think that his overall game, and he's not as bad as the opponents that Alvey was facing, who had kind of chin issues. I think Brunson has a good chin, and he has a wrestling game too, so I can see Brunson taking this to the ground. Do I see a finish? No, I think Alvey is a really tough guy to finish. So I'm just going to edge very closely here. Derek Brunson via decision. Moving on to co-main now. This is a great fight. Michael Johnson against Beneil Dariush. I'm a big fan of both of these guys. I think Michael Johnson is coming into his own, but I do believe that Beneil Dariush is not far behind him either. Michael Johnson had a career performance against Edson Barboza down in Brazil. Showed great speed, great in and out techniques he hit Barboza before Barboza could hit him. We've seen how quick Barboza is, and Johnson kind of outshot him there, and he hit him with some nice powerful shots. Went to the body whale, had some beautiful leg kicks. Beneil Dariush, on the other hand, he had a career win against probably the gatekeeper of the lightweight division in Jim Miller. The guy has just improved since he got TKO'd by Ramsey Nijem. But even that, I think that was just an off night. There was something about him then in that fight. He just didn't seem there. He seemed a little bit cocky. His first fight in UFC, knocked out Charlie Brennan with a lovely KO. Submitted Tony Martin. Beat Carlos Diego Ferreira, who I think is a really good fighter. Submitted Darren Cruikshank at UFC 185, and pretty much dominated Jim Miller back in New Jersey in April. Fights out at King's MMA, which, I mean, that camp is just streaking at the minute. 2 UFC champions in there. I see a lot of people picking Michael Johnson. But I think I'm going to go the underdog here if he is the underdog when the odds get released over here in Britain. I want to pick. I've just had a feeling about Beneil Dariush. I think if he can get Michael Johnson to the ground, I think he's going to submit him down there. I think he's going to do it easy. We've seen Michael Johnson. I think he's only lost in the UFC. Maybe only one of his 2 losses. Reza Madadi got him down there and schooled him a little bit. That was 2.5 years ago, so he's probably done a lot of improvements on his grappling and his wrestling and his takedown defense to perhaps keep this off the ground. If it goes to the ground, I think that Dariush is going to have him, but Johnson has to use that speed, get in and out, pepper him with shots, and just kind of keep away from Dariush. But Dariush has some power on his feet as well. I'm going to go the underdog in this one. I'm not as confident in Michael Johnson as a lot of people is. So I'm going to go Beneil Dariush via decision. And I think he's going to be able to get him down, get him against the fence, and hopefully take him down. But it's a very close fight. I can see why a lot of people are picking Michael Johnson as well. So, and in the main event, we have Glover Teixeira against Ovince Saint Preux. A decent fight is your main event in here. I mean, Ovince Saint Preux is coming off 2 really nice knockouts. Went down to Brazil and hit Shogun Rua with a huge shot. Took him out down there within inside about 40 seconds. Silenced the crowd down there in Brazil. And then stifled Pat Cummins, stopped the takedown, and then hit him with some brutal shots to knock him out. He's a guy who, when he gets that step up, he's not really showed that. This is another step up because he's had it against Ryan Bader and he didn't show it in that fight. Bader is one of the probably top 5 guys in that division. And Teixeira is kind of milling round about that top 5 one as well. 67 he probably is in there. Teixeira, that he's coming back after he was horrible against Phil Davis. I don't think he was great at all. And before that he lost to John Jones. He gave a spirited performance, but he was always outclassed by John Jones. So how I see this fight going, I think Teixeira's going to come out quick. I think he's going to want to try and knock Saint Preux out early. I think Saint Preux is going to use a lot of movement to keep away, hit some high kicks, go to the legs of Teixeira, and I can see as the fight kind of goes later on, I can see Teixeira using his Ovince Saint Preux using his wrestling a little bit more, taking him down, and just riding out those rounds and winning enough rounds to win the fight. So I'm going to go OSP via decision. So that is my fight picks for UFC 73. Next card I will be breaking down is UFC 74 from Saskatoon in Canada, where Max Holloway faces off against Charles Oliveira. Just looking at this card right now, good fights on this card. It's a really good card. Holloway, Oliveira, Rick Story, Eric Silva, Charlie Priest against Trinaldo. We've got Oben Mercier against Tony Sims, which I think is a great fight. Marina Moroz against Val Eterno. We've got Marcos Rogério de Lima against Krylov. That's going to end quickly, I believe. But there is some great fights in that throughout the card. So come follow me on Twitter, WillMartin7MMA. I'm always there for chatting MMA. Come play counter move as well. The guys that counter move are great. You can always win some money in there as well. And tell me your picks for this card as well. Always like to speak with guys on here about who you think is going to win and who's got the technical advantage and stuff like that. So come follow me on Twitter. Come subscribe to my channel on here. And I'll be back in a couple of weeks for the fights from Canada. So thanks for watching. Take care, and I will see you all again.